What is core stability and why is it important? We're going to be looking at 4 exercises on how we can improve it, but first of all we've got to talk about what is it. If you want to improve your core stability, please do click the link below, go through to my How to Build Core Strength and Stability online 12-week program. So first of all, what is core stability? Well, it's the ability of the core muscles to activate correctly. Now that's a bit of a broad term, so what we're going to try and do is as we go through this video, we're going to try and bring a little bit of context to that statement and help you understand what it really means. And number 2, why is it important? Well, it does 2 things. 1, it holds the spine in place and stabilizes the lumbar spine. And then 2, because of that stability, it protects the lumbar spine. Because what we have to understand is that we've got the pelvis, which is a bony structure. We've then got the spine that goes up, and then we've got the rib cage above. Now the rib cage, because it's a bony structure, gives the thoracic spine stability because of the bony structures around it. But the lumbar spine doesn't have anything. L5, 4, 3, 2 and 1 doesn't have a bony structure to hold it in place. So it needs the muscles to do it. And if the muscles aren't timing properly, then there's going to be unnecessary stress going onto certain segments of the spine, depending on what part of the muscle or what muscle isn't activating correctly. So what we're going to do in this tutorial is talk about 4 exercises that can bring that stability to the spine to not only stabilize the spine, but also protect it and give you greater core strength. So how do we go about getting core stability? Well, when we do these 4 exercises, we're going to be doing 3 things. Number 1 is we want the muscles to time properly. So how do we do that? 1, we get instability into the exercises, but also we need control to come with that. And then finally, we need an element of pre-bracing. So we need to preempt the muscles tensioning, and then when we move the limb, we're going to get when we create the instability by moving a limb, we're going to get that muscle control and muscle timing on top of that pre-brace. So what does all that look like in practice? Well, we're going to start off with a simple exercise, the bird dog, and then we're going to progress it up and make it a little bit harder each time and challenge the stability each time. So with a bird dog, you've probably done it or seen it before. You certainly would have seen me do it before. We come down onto all 4s, and then we come out in this position. Now, if we've got good stability in this position, we will be nice and level through the hips and shoulders. And then when we're in this position, we won't be sort of jumping around. Because when we have good stability, we have smooth movement. Because the smooth movement represents good muscle timing and good muscle coordination when we move. If we've got wobbly movement, unstable movement, that's opposing muscles trying to organize themselves, and they're pulling your limb from side to side because they can't communicate properly with each other. So what we need to be able to do is learn that smooth movement and get that muscle timing. So a very simple way of doing that is coming into a bird dog and just going out into that position and holding. Then we would come down and we would change over. Again, all through the movement, we keep the pelvis and the shoulders nice and level. And we work towards getting smooth movement through the extending of the arm and the leg. Once we're nice and stable with a wide stance, we simply just bring it more narrow and we go out. And now you can start to see I'm introducing more stability into the exercise. Now I'm starting to work a bit harder to maintain that smooth movement. So you can just start to see even from that exercise that we're starting to increase the instability, which is getting the muscles to work a little bit harder to time themselves so we've got proper coordination. Exercise number 2 is a half kneeling exercise, which is simply just coming down onto one knee. So again, all we're doing is very much a static exercise, but what we want is smooth movement through the pelvis and essentially in the front leg and the foot. Now again, I would come into this position, I would hold my body, and I've got good balance here. But what you'll find, and what you should be able to see, is that as I bring my foot across here, I'm introducing greater instability into the exercise. What you now should start to see is my foot is starting to work a little bit harder to maintain, although you probably can't see it. My back foot's working a little bit harder, and my shoulder and my torso is starting to move a little bit more. But because I'm not like this would be unstable if I was like this. Oh. But when you are stable, you're here. So again, it's just a case slightly unstable in this position, and then as I bring my foot across, I increase the instability, and now my opposing muscles have got to work harder to communicate well, to maintain that stability and that smooth posture, as it were. Because if you're all over the place, you've got that jaggedy posture, that shows instability. With exercises 3 and 4, we're going to get a little bit harder. So we're going to do a plank with then an arm raise. So now we're introducing a little bit more strength into the equation. The 2 exercises we've just done are very much core stability, focused on balance, coordination, and muscle timing. We're going to have all of those things, but now we've got to hold and be strong in this position. Because what we do when we come down into a plank, we've got the strength and endurance here. What we then need to do is lift an arm up. And then as soon as we lift the arm up, we make one side of the body work that much harder. Now the place to start is on the knees. So we start in this position, we lift up. Now as soon as I lift, you can feel all of that work. How do we know that we've got good stability through there, or if we've got instability through there? Well, we know we've got good stability when the hips stay stationary. So when we come up and the hips don't move, and we go up and the hips don't move. When we lift up and the hips don't move, and the hips don't move. That's when we've got good stability. When we've got instability or unstable core, the pelvis will weight shift, it will roll, it will drop, or it will rise. If we've got any of those 4, or all of those 4, or a combination of those 4, we've got instability through the pelvis and the spine. And that's what we need to correct. And we can do that, albeit it's much more challenging, we can do that with the plank and the arm raise. The 4th and final exercise is probably the hardest of them all, and it's a side plank with a leg raise. So as we did with the plank, it's the same thing. We go into a side plank. You can start with the knees, but the jump from the knees to the feet is quite significant, because all we would do is we need to lift the leg up, so we leave that leg independent. Now, again, what will happen, like I mentioned with the side plank, there's going to be some movement within the pelvis. So generally, with this one, it's going to drop. So as soon as I lift up, it's going to drop. That shows there's instability, because the muscles aren't firing at the right time, and then it catches as I drop. So what we need to do is we need to get into this position and lift and maintain that position. That shows lats, obliques, glute medius, glute minimus are doing their job and timing properly. So it's not necessarily a strength problem, it's more a muscle timing problem. There can be some strength elements to it, but we need the muscles to time first before we can add the strength in, and then the endurance on top. So stability comes first, strength next, endurance on top. When it comes to doing it on the feet, we have both feet on top of each other, we come up, again we maintain position of the hip, we go down and we come back up. If there's instability there, we drop, if that makes sense. So what we're looking for is that smoothness of movement. What I should say as well, with the plank and the side plank, when it comes to smoothness of movement, when we're unstable, we'll kind of go, because we can't hold the position. When we are stable and strong, we're up, we can lift off slowly, we can come down, and we can place down slowly, and then we can bring back slowly again. So again, everything's slowed down, everything is smooth, and in some respects, it's made to look easier than what it feels like. And that goes for the bird dog, the half kneeling, the plank with arm raise, and the side plank with the leg raise. So we've talked about 4 exercises that can help you build core stability. But first of all, what is core stability? It's the muscles timing correctly around the spine and around the pelvis. How do we go about doing that? First of all, we need to introduce instability into the exercise. We need to pre-brace the muscles, so we pull the tummy tight, then we perform the exercise, and then finally we need to get the muscles timing so the parts of the body don't jump around and create rotations or weight shifts or whatever it may be. If you've enjoyed this content, please do hit the like button below. If you've learned something new, hit the thanks button below. If you have a comment or a question, leave it in the comment section below. And finally, if you want to watch more videos like these, please do hit the subscribe button and the bell icon.